Hello and good afternoon everybody, and welcome back once again for another video of DIY investing. Over the last couple weeks, I've been diving in and sharing a lot of analysis with some of my favorite long-term holds moving forward into this next cycle. Today's video, we're going to be diving in and giving you guys an updated approach to Tezos and why I actually believe that Tezos is going to lead the next crypto bull run, similar to what Ethereum did back in 2017. Now, when I say that it could lead the next bull run, I don't necessarily mean that it's going to outperform every other altcoin that's out there. In fact, with this next cycle, I think that there's way more money to be deployed amongst the markets, and so we could have a number of different cryptocurrencies that perform very well, similar to what Ethereum did back in 2017. Tezos is a platform for smart contracts, and it's really used for institutional investors through the use of STOs. Now, if you guys remember, 2017 was a very crazy time for Ethereum because of the ICO craze that happened. All of these ICOs that were being developed on the decentralized platform of Ethereum were going absolutely insane, and this was creating a massive price bubble inside of Ethereum's market, which we saw take from lows of 50 cents all the way up to $1,450 in the span of about 2 years' time. For this next bull run, I don't think that the institutional investors are going to be nearly as excited about ICOs because of how many scams were brought about during that ICO craze. With STOs, they're a lot safer than these ICOs because you have to really know exactly kind of what you're investing in with an STO, whereas an ICO, you could just have these false promises and there's really no way to get your money back. There's a lot more regulation really around these STOs, and so they're a lot safer bet as far as investing for institutional investors, and I think that this is the reason why Tezos is going to perform so well. With all that being said, guys, if you're new and just finding this channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you don't miss any more videos like the one provided for you here. My pre-sale is still going until the 1st of the new year, January 1st, 2020. All of my course and signals are going to be 50% off, and they're going to double after the new year. So if you're new and getting into crypto right now and you want to follow some sound advice, or if you want to be able to learn and educate yourself off exclusive video content, I highly recommend that you check out this course in Signal because it's going to be very exceptional for your profitability moving forward in this next cycle. I want to get as many new members in here as I can before the next bull run starts so that we can all be there to really maximize the truest potential of our portfolios and make life-changing amounts of money throughout this next cycle. The invitation link to my Discord is going to be in the description of this video, so if you want access to my signals, drop a comment, leave me an email message. You can find my email in the description of this video as well, and make sure you click that invitation link so that you get access to my Discord server. I'm thinking about closing off my invites once we hit 1,000 members in my Discord, and we're about 900 right now, so make sure that you guys jump in there soon while the opportunity is still there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and let's get right in the video. Now, before we dive into my real analysis with Tezos, I want to talk to you guys about Bitcoin because there's something very important that's developing. I always start off my videos talking about Bitcoin almost 90% of the time because Bitcoin is the driver of the market and everybody wants to know exactly what's going to happen. You guys got to remember the Bitcoin really just leads the market, and the altcoins are going to follow whatever Bitcoin does, really on both pairs, especially now over the course of the bear market and still into this early bull cycle of Bitcoin. The altcoins are still in a confirmed downtrend. Some of them have kind of made uptrends, but for the most part, the average altcoin is in a downtrend still. So it's important to know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. Now, if we come in here, not much has changed since my last analysis, and that's why I like to keep it very simple for you guys on bigger time frames, because the average person that watches my channel really isn't some technical expert, and they don't really know how to apply all of this technical analysis to charts to be very profitable. A lot of you guys watch my channel to get a really good understanding from just a non-biased perspective. I'm never trying to shill you guys any crap. I'm always trying to make things very level-headed, and whatever I give you guys is my own personal thoughts and beliefs. So with that being said, guys, this is really what I've been watching for over the last couple weeks. This was this black horizontal support line, and we sold through it, and it's now getting rejected and acting as resistance. Now, as of right now, guys, we are trending right below this resistance, and it's located at about $7,800, $7,800, $7,900, right in that range. And we can see that we've rejected off at once, twice, and now we're getting a confirmed lower low right here. And so that's 3 different lower highs, that we're seeing right now, this is really our first lower high before we start to impulse much lower. I think I just called that a lower low. We haven't seen a lower low yet, but we are experiencing our first lower high. Now, the fact that we're trending below this resistance on this black line indicates to me that this bear trend is still very much intact, and we're going to be expecting to see another sharp sell-off similar to kind of what we saw right here. Now, this next sell-off, I think it'd be a little bit closer to this sort of a drop, a very sudden, very sharp decrease in price. And I think the reason for that is because this looks to be the terminal end of this correction. Now, with this final sell-off, I don't expect it to go too much lower after this last sell-off. I think this really would be our final sell-off in the cycle. Now, really, I have these 3 price targets that I have drawn for the last couple weeks, and this is really what I'm going to continue to rock with, because I think that this is the most realistic price targets to be looking to accumulate this next dip. And I mean, for me personally, even if we don't hit all of these targets, I'm totally fine with that. Even if we miss all 3 of these targets and we bottom just shortly above that, I'm fine with that too, because really what I'm expecting to see with Bitcoin is something similar to this. We can see back in 2017, we had this consolidation. It was almost just this horizontal support line, and we consolidated here back and forth, kept making lower highs until finally we sold through, got a very, very strong impulse by this breakthrough. And then what we saw shortly after was this massive parabolic move that took us almost clear back up to the highs of the previous cycle. And then we went into our next impulse. And so I'm expecting something similar to what happened back in the early days. And that's kind of the way that the Bitcoin corrections work. Now, because this is the first leg up, honestly, I would really be thankful if we could see some short rounded bottom accumulation taking place right here, but I really don't expect it. I'm not really that person that's going to be expecting that moving forward, just because of the fact I've seen Bitcoin corrections in times past, and generally speaking, they don't really round out like that. Usually we have these choppy action moves, we sell off, and then we finally just hit this point where the market's like, hey, I can't go any lower, and that's when all these buy orders come in, and that's really where the dip gets bought. And we could see something like this. Maybe we fall down to here, something like this, and then we get bought up very quickly, and we could see something along the lines of this, right? Something very impulsive on the upside. And that's why I always stress to you guys, it's so important to have a trading plan, because when the bottom of this market happens inside of this recent bear correction, it's going to get bought up very quickly. And if you're not somebody that's willing to accumulate everybody else's fear when it gets really cheap, you're going to be this person stuck FOMOing in when we already are back up to 10, 14K, and we're starting to head and impulse back to that all-time high mark, because that's what's going to happen. And I'm very confident in saying that. Like I said, I would love to get us some nice rounded bottom accumulation taking place here that would maybe accumulate for 3 months, something like we saw back in here, but I really don't expect it, and I don't think that you guys should either. The best thing that you're going to be able to do is really just look to accumulate this fear while it's here, because I can tell you guys, the fact that we're already back at this 6K support floor, for the most part, we're a little bit higher, but I think we're going to hit back down to this 6K support floor, and that's an excellent opportunity to be buying. I remember beating myself up because I wish I would have bought more at 6K, beating myself up because I wish I would have bought more down in here, seeing an impulse from 3,200 all the way to 14K, and then thinking, well, crap, there goes my great entries and great opportunity to buy the bear market. Now we're just going to go impulse straight to all-time high. But in fact, once we started seeing this descending resistance or descending triangle consolidation, I kind of figured that we'd drop back down and I'd have an opportunity to actually accumulate a little bit cheaper. But we're actually going much lower than I originally thought. So do this, make this a great opportunity in your eyes, because for me personally, this is an excellent opportunity, and I'm so euphoric right now seeing all of this downside in Bitcoin, and I have been, because like I said, guys, I kind of expected it to continue to just impulse all of that all-time high mark before we got a sizable correction. I kind of thought that we would follow the gold fractal, considering that we followed it so closely thus far, but we strayed a little bit from that. We're dropping back down to support, so do your due diligence and accumulate everybody else's fear so that you can really be stuck holding that next entire bull move. Now we're actually going to be diving into the nitty-gritty part of this video. We're going to be taking a look at Tezos and Ethereum, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys the similarities in market structure between the two cycles and how it ties together with my overall philosophy that Tezos will be a big driver of value in the cryptocurrency market moving forward into 2020 and 2021. Alright guys, now before we jump into the actual chart, I'm going to give a quick shout out to the person that actually originally came up with the idea of this. Now, something that happens on crypto Twitter is everybody likes to steal everybody else's analysis, and that's just kind of the way it works. To be completely honest, I have no problem with that. If anybody wants to use my analysis, do whatever the hell you want with it, because at the end of the day, I just want the best for everybody else. A lot of analysts will get really pissed off saying, oh, you stole my analysis and you're taking my ideas. And that's whatever. It's going to happen regardless. I already know that people do it with my ideas. And so the best thing I'm going to be able to do is just try to get all that information out there so everybody can really see the full perspective. Now this is Crypto Picasso. I've actually been following this guy since 2016, and he brings up a lot of very good points. And this is the chart that I wanted to show you guys. And this is showing Tezos and Ethereum in really the first market cycle and how similar these cycles are. Now I will have a little bit of a different view on this, but I wanted to quickly shout out the person that originally came up with the idea, just so everybody knows. Go give him a follow, go check out that analysis and make your own decisions based off of that. But what I wanted to share with you guys is this original cycle inside of Ethereum, right? This was the very first leg up that we had when we went from $8 all the way up to $1,450. Now I actually bought my first Ethereum right here at $8, and I did not hold the entire length of the trend like an idiot, but that's where you live and learn, guys, and that's why I made this YouTube channel, is because I've learned a lot since those early mistakes that I made, and I'm not going to make the same mistakes with Tezos, because you guys already know that I've been buying Tezos and I have a bag accumulated for the long term, and I won't be looking to scale out for probably at least till the end of 2021. The next winter, because that's generally when the bear trend or bull trend starts, is winter time, and I think that's going to be the case for 2020 right now where we're at. Now with that being said, guys, I'm going to drop this to a log chart, and we're going to kind of dive into the analysis aspect of this market cycle. Now what we saw here was Ethereum bottoming at roughly 43 cents, and then we went all the way up here to about 21 bucks. Now where we consolidated generally, and this is really just kind of a blow off top, but the average of all of this consolidation took us right here to this 618 Fibonacci zone. Now the 618 itself is the golden ratio of Fibonacci, because it's really the average of all of these other points. And so that's why whenever I create price targets, I take the 618 and I just multiply it by 1. And you guys will see what I mean right here. If I drop my tool, you can see we have 1 618, 2 618, 3 618, 4 2 3 6. Now that should be a 6182, but it's whatever. It just has me messed up a little bit in my settings. But with that being said, the 618 is the golden ratio. Now from what I've seen trading in cryptocurrency, the most bullish market cycles are going to be the ones that make a really impulsive move and then they bottom at this 618, because they can dip to the 786 and even all the way down here to the 88.3 and sometimes even lower than that. But it's honestly a lot more of a bullish sign the higher that we hold support, because that shows that there's a lot more bullish momentum propping the prices up, and there's a lot more demand for that given asset. And this is what we saw back here in Ethereum. Now with that being said, guys, I wanted to talk about the similarities between the two market structures. Now we can see with Ethereum's first leg up, we bottomed at this 618 ratio number, right? And from that point, we went all the way upwards of $400, about 400, 450 on some exchanges, and then we went all the way up to $1,450. And so this was a very parabolic move. And if you would have bought the dip down in here, you would have made a very, very sizable return on your investment. If you would have bought the 618 and held to the all-time high, it would have been about just under a 200x return. So that's massive gains, guys. And that's why I wanted to make this video today, was to talk about the similarities between Tezos as well. Now let's actually drop it to the Tezos. That's XMR or XRP. Now let's actually drop it to the Tezos chart and let's take a look right here. Now I'm actually going to take it off a log scale so that we can see a little bit better. Now let's take a look at Tezos right now and let's pull up this Fibonacci equivalent. Now we can see here, guys, that the average of this point, and we did peak a little bit lower, we almost went to the 786, but the average of this consolidation was located on the 618 number, right? And even right here, this was consolidation right there, and we just barely peaked below it, and we were immediately bought back up from that point. So we can see that this is also following roughly the same trend as Ethereum did, where we hung support on this 618. Even though we peaked a little bit below that, it immediately shot back up. That's a very bullish sign, and that's something that you want to see with more bullish altcoins. Now this coin specifically, us holding support above this 618 tells me that this is most definitely a coin of high demand. Now what we saw right here before we had our major impulse of about 100% thus far, I think that's about what it is, was we had the announcement of staking, so about 75%. Staking, or what is known on the Tezos blockchain as baking, is basically where you put your coins, you lock them away into a reserve, and you earn 5.55% interest just from holding Tezos alone. Now, I actually own a little bit of Tezos and hold it on Coinbase, and so I've actually been earning Tezos just from buying it and having it held on the exchange itself. I don't have to do anything extra, and I'm just constantly earning dividends off of my investment into Tezos thus far. And so it's for that reason that I think that's going to be a very bullish catalyst moving forward, because you have these big exchanges, these big corporations, these big institutions that are going to be holding these certain cryptocurrencies, and they're actually going to be able to earn dividends off of holding all of that. Now, exchanges themselves are going to have a very massive incentive for holding these coins, because not only are people trading these and buying and selling them on your exchange, but you, just by holding all of that amount of Tezos on the exchange itself, are going to be earning 5.55% interest off of that. And so that's a very bullish sign, guys, and I can't stress that enough. That's why I'm really excited about Tezos. In fact, I actually bought my first Tezos and was accumulating my first bags before any of that news of baking ever came out. And so it's for that reason that I think that staking is going to be a very major catalyst for Tezos. Now, with that being said, guys, this takes us to the current time frame of these cycles, and this is really where I'm going to differentiate myself from Crypto Picasso's analysis, because I actually think that we're much earlier in the cycle than he seems to believe. Now, what we can see in Ethereum is before this first cycle, before really the first impulse, I'm going to throw it back to an even earlier time frame. Now, this was the very, very first cycle that we ever had in Ethereum. This is where we got added to exchanges. We dropped, we pumped, and then we kind of just went to this new low. And this was our first market cycle before we had our first leg up, and that's what really took us into that next cycle high. Now, this is important for a couple reasons. Now, let's pull up the golden ratio number again, that's 618, and let's see how it lines up with this cycle. Just a little bit lower, right there. Now, we can see here that the same thing happened. We bounced off of this 618 zone 3 different times before we finally left that cycle. And we can see here, guys, that this was a very small retrace. There really wasn't a lot of downside here, and that shows that there's a lot of bullish momentum in the market. Anytime they're going to hang around that 618, you guys know that it's going to be a bullish move coming. Now, if they fell support, obviously then you can rethink your trading plan, but the 618 is a great time to be targeting for bullish coins in a bull market specifically. Now, we can see here, guys, that this reminds me a lot of the same cycle that we had in Tezos. Now, we can see that we had our first little market cycle after we got added to exchanges, and then we kind of just consolidated below this descending resistance before we finally broke out of that, held support on this 618, and then that's what really took us into that new price discovery and that massive market cycle all the way up to $1,450, right? Now, this is important, guys, because it's following not only the price of Ethereum very closely, it's following the market structure of Ethereum very closely, and it's also a platform for decentralized smart contracts. Now, the difference between Ethereum and Tezos is the fact that Tezos is really meant for more of an institutional adoption approach, and so honestly, I think that has a little bit of a better case moving forward for bigger profit potential, because it's a younger, underdeveloped project. Now, let's drop it to here, and let's actually take a look of what I'm seeing. Now, this to me, guys, looks almost identical. We can see that we get added to exchange, we pump, we make our first market cycle, then we kind of consolidate before getting trapped under this major descending resistance. And then in our first leg, we rally and break out of that. So just the same as Ethereum. We get added to exchanges, we pump, we consolidate under this descending resistance, make our first leg up, and that's what really takes us into that next bull cycle. Now, here's something I want to point out. Now, I'm going to get into the actual symmetry of the market cycles, because really, guys, to me, they look almost exactly the same. We can see that we make this little double bottom formation after our initial all-time high. Well, technically it wasn't the all-time high, but the cycle high saw us at about $2.20, and then we dropped for our first lower high, and we made this little double bottom formation before getting trapped under this descending resistance, and then we had our last impulse back down. Now, Tezos followed the same trend, guys, almost identically, and if I show you guys, you'll know what I'm talking about. Cycle highs right here, we top out at probably about 12 bucks. We drop back down for our first lower high, make this little double bottom formation, rally up, get trapped below this descending resistance for our final impulse down. And I know a lot of you guys don't follow Elliott wave theory, and I really try and keep it the least analytical as I can for my videos, because I truly want everybody that doesn't really know how to like trade and hasn't invested all of the time to learning technical analysis, I want you guys to be able to understand. Because if I personally can teach you guys in a way that's really efficient, in a way that just is easy to understand, then that means that I'm doing myself the best job that I possibly can for this channel. And that's the most important thing for me. If I can explain this to a child, if I can explain this to, you guys are often a lot older. I think my demographic's anywhere from about 30 to 45 years old. And that's the biggest chunk of my subscribers. And so I know that if I can explain this to like an 18-year-old kid, because I taught my brother all of this stuff, and he understands quite thoroughly exactly how all of this analysis works. Even though he's not quite as advanced, he does know a significant amount. And in fact, I would argue that he knows probably about 60%, 70% more than people that watch my channel. And so if I can explain to him these things in a way that's easy to understand, I know that you guys can see the exact same similarities. Now what we saw in Tezos, if I follow Elliott wave theory, was a 1, a 3, and a 5 wave impulse back down. And that's exactly what we saw in Ethereum as well. Once we hit that descending resistance, we had our 1, we had our 3, and then we had our 5 impulse back down. Now even though it's a little bit more impulsive here on the 5 wave with Tezos, the market structure is roughly the same, and that's what I want to point out. We can see that we get added to the exchange, we make our cycle high, we drop back down for our first lower low, little double bottom formation. This fakes out at the descending resistance, and then we fall for 1, 1, 3, and 5 Elliott wave impulse back down. And it's the exact same thing. Cycle high, fall back down for our first lower low, make this double bottom formation, fake out, hit this descending resistance, and then we have 5 impulse waves back down. Now this, guys, is very important to me because I think that this is actually far earlier in the cycle than even Crypto Picasso and many other analysts care to believe. And I'm actually going to be diving in even more detail and explaining not only just the similarities in market structure, the similarities in price, and the similarities in overall fundamental case as far as Tezos and Ethereum are correlated because they're both decentralized smart contract platforms and they have ICOs and STOs. But we're going to be diving in and showing you guys how it lines up with the last Bitcoin cycle and the current Bitcoin cycle now, because there's a lot of correlations here that I want you guys to understand. Now we can see here that with Tezos, we consolidated on this 618, and this was really our first breakout. This was our descending resistance, the first market cycle, really the first thing that ever happened inside of Tezos. And we finally broke out of that bearish trend. And now this starts the next bull run, guys. This is the thing. The most bullish altcoins right now are already in their uptrend. If you're looking at some of these other coins that are still maintaining this downtrend, those are most likely going to be mid caps. And then what's going to happen are these high caps like Tezos, like Ethereum, like Litecoin, Binance Coin, ADA, all of those high caps. Those are going to be the ones that really start to lead the market. And then after the high caps top out, that new money is going to trickle into the mid caps. The mid caps are going to make their market cycles, and then that money is going to leave at their top, and then it's going to trickle into the low caps. And that's the way that the cycles work. Ever since I've been in cryptocurrency, I've been able to analyze and watch how these cycles work, and that is exactly what happens every single time. So the first major bull run that we're going to see are going to be the high caps that are going to really start to take that lead. And that's why it's important to have your portfolio diversified into high caps, mid caps, and low caps. Now, for me personally, I'm much more heavily invested into the high caps because they're safer bets. I know that I'm still going to make a significant return on my investment either way, but I don't need to risk as much because these are the ones that have the better market cycles, and I think that these are going to perform the best. Now, Tezos, guys, is following the Ethereum market cycle almost to a T. Based off of this analysis alone, I think that everybody else can agree with me that this is roughly the same market structure. And guys, this is actually my most bullish chart pattern that I have ever found inside of cryptocurrency. And what I mean by that is if we take a look at Ethereum, we can see that the most bullish coins I have ever found are the ones that get added to exchanges, pump, make new lows, and then they break out of this descending resistance, they break out of the original bear market, make that first leg up, and then that's what sends them into that new cycle. And I'm actually going to share with you guys another example of this, because this is another coin that I watched very early in the day, and it did roughly the same thing. It's going to be a little bit different than Ethereum, but it followed almost the exact same sort of cycle. Let's remove all drawing tools and take a look here. Same sort of thing, guys, almost identical. We can see that in XMR, we get added to the exchange, we make our cycle high, make this little double bottom formation before we get trapped under this descending resistance. And then our first leg up is the breakout of that. And then I would not be the least bit surprised if we fell onto this 618 Fibonacci level again. This one could go a little bit lower. Yeah, so this one actually went to the 786, but it doesn't really change the fact that the symmetry is very similar. Now, it doesn't have to go to the 618, it can go to the 786, it could go down to the 88.3, and it can still be one of the most bullish coins. But I just want to talk about the market structure and symmetry that we see. We can see that we had the cycle high, just the same as Ethereum, just the same as Tezos. We get held under this descending resistance, we make 5 impulse waves back down, we break from that bear trend, hold support in this first little impulse, and then that sends us into price discovery, right? And that's the cycle, guys. This is the most bullish cycle I have ever found in cryptocurrency, ever. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've spent a lot of hours watching these markets, analyzing altcoins, looking for this exact setup. And so I cannot stress to you guys enough how important this actually is for this bullish cycle in Tezos moving forward. And so if this continues to follow similarly to Ethereum, which it has, this is the one, we'll have a 3-wave. I have no idea how high it's gonna go, so don't try and quote this as 100% truth. And then we'll have a 5. But what I can share with you guys is that this is an early market cycle. We've only finished the 1 wave, and even if we only have a 1, 3, and a 5, and that's the end of everything, it's still gonna set you guys up for a lot of profit potential, because realistically, guys, I'm targeting about $100 for Tezos. I do believe that this thing can go to that high just because of all of the institutional money that's gonna be flooding into crypto. This is a platform for institutions. Like, that, it's plain and simple. Not that Ethereum isn't, but this is catered 100% to only institutions. And that's gonna be the people that use it. And so I think that this one has a very significant use case for where we're currently at. To $100 is going to put us at about a 60x return, and I'm actually expecting a little bit of downside to happen inside of Tezos before that actually takes place. But now, before I wrap up this video, I want to talk to you guys about how it lines up with Bitcoin. Let's clean up this chart a bit, and let's actually just look at the time frames of Ethereum so that we can kind of see exactly how it puts us into the cycle of Bitcoin. Because remember, guys, Bitcoin is the driver of all of the value in the market, and it's Bitcoin's move that really give new money a way to enter into these altcoins. And so you're going to see what I mean by this. Bitcoin always leads the moves, and then the altcoins follow suit. And so with Bitcoin, let's go back in the early days and let's take a look at this. So what we can see here, right before we started breaking out of this little impulse, we can see at the bottom of this cycle, of this 1 wave that we saw, this first leg up, was about the 10th of December, 2015. Now, let's go take a look at Bitcoin, and where was the 10th of December? Right about here, the very top of the first cycle high, right? Now, if you guys don't remember what it looks like, we can see right now that we had the cycle high, we went into the bear market, we consolidated, we made this double bottom formation, we accumulated here for like almost a year. And then we broke out of that. Now, the final high of that move took us to about $475, and it was the very high of that move where Ethereum was at its lowest point, right? And that's the way it works. But we can see that it impulsed with that first impulse inside of Bitcoin. That was the first leg up, right? Now, let's go and take a look at the cycle high. We can see that the cycle high was June of 2016. That was the very top of Ethereum. Now let's go take a look at Bitcoin and see where June 15th lines up. June 15th, right there. The very, very high of that move, right? And so we can see here that every leg Bitcoin makes, the altcoins are making another leg. Now, the thing about altcoins, guys, is the fact that these legs are much more impulsive in the altcoin pairs, and that's why you make more money with altcoins, is because they're younger, earlier market cycles, less adoption, and Bitcoin is a much older cryptocurrency. There's a much more amount of money in it, and so it takes more money for it to go up in price. And so Bitcoin's a slower, more accumulative approach. It's a longer term investment, and not that these altcoins aren't, but they're gonna give you a bigger percent return because they just impulse so much harder. We can see that inside of Bitcoin, we kind of went like this, leg up, like that, but with Ethereum, we didn't really do that. We went leg up, super strong impulse, and then a 5 wave, and that was kind of the way it works, right? Just massive impulses, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about. It's going to be different between altcoins and Bitcoin, but they follow each other. Specifically, altcoins follow Bitcoin, and we can see that Ethereum topped out in its next leg at the next cycle high, which put us roughly at this all-time high mark. Not quite there yet, but we can see the similarities. Now, how does this apply? Why am I talking about this exactly? Why am I looking at this old cycle that's already happened? And I'm getting there, guys. Now let's actually take it to, let's actually take it to the current market cycle. Let's hide all drawing tools, and let's see exactly how Tezos is lining up inside of a Bitcoin. Now here we take Tezos. We can see that the very cycle high of this first impulse was May 16th of 2019. And if we go take a look at Bitcoin, where was May 16th? May 16th put us right here. So we can see that inside of Bitcoin, a lot of these altcoins actually topped out a little bit earlier than Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a final 5-wave impulse, and the altcoins really didn't follow suit. They topped out right here, and they've been kind of consolidating down ever since, right? And so this is going to be a little bit different with this cycle, but the similarities are there. We can see that we topped out in Tezos about right here, and now this was really just the first leg up inside of Bitcoin, and we can see that that's also the same case for Tezos. That first leg up inside of Tezos. Now Ethereum, that first leg up that we had inside of Ethereum was also the first leg up that we had in the old Bitcoin cycle, and this is the way it's going to be, guys. Now what's coming next inside of Bitcoin is what I just shared with you guys at the start of this video. I'm expecting kind of one more sell-off. I don't know exactly how low this sell-off's going to go. I have my price targets, and I'm just kind of just buying it and playing it by ear. But we don't even have to go this low. We can kind of drop back down a little bit lower and then get bought up. But this is what I'm expecting to see, guys. And then that's actually going to take us into our next impulse. And similar to kind of like what we saw right here, we had our first impulse, then we had another impulse. I would expect Bitcoin to actually follow that very closely. And if we do follow this trend, if we have another wave that's exactly the same size, that's going to put us right here at about just over that all-time high mark of over 20K. And so I think that this could be that really big impulsive cycle that we're about to see. I think Bitcoin's going to get bought up, go very quickly to this all-time high mark, and then that's when we're going to have the next major impulse amongst the altcoins. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about this pattern, is because in this next impulse, we're going to go very, very high. And most likely altcoins are going to go higher than Bitcoin. And that's just the way it works. I think that in this next cycle, we could very easily break this all-time high mark inside of Tezos, and then we could start that first major impulse in this cycle. Now, I'm not going to give you guys exact time frames. If you're watching this, don't pay attention to what time frames these Elliott waves are lining up with, because that's not what's important to me. Right now, we're just at a very underdeveloped time inside of Tezos, and it's really important that we're accumulating and we're taking advantage of the opportunity that's been given, because based off of Bitcoin, like I said, guys, this is just the first leg up in this cycle. The very first leg up. Now, even though it was really impulsive, it's still just the first leg. And amongst altcoins, they're following the same symmetry as early day Ethereum, early day XMR, and some of the most bullish cryptocurrencies that we saw in that last cycle. And so that's why I'm a big buyer of Tezos. I do see the similarities in Tezos that I saw in XRP, or I see the same similarities inside of Tezos that I saw with Ethereum, and the same similarities I saw with XMR. And so I'm a big buyer of this cryptocurrency in this time, because I do believe it has a significant use case, and it's going to be adopted, and it's going to be a very impulsive market cycle moving forward. Institutions need a way to invest in a cryptocurrency, and this is going to be the ideal platform for them to do that. I'm not saying that Ethereum can't. Ethereum will see institutional adoption as well. In fact, it's most likely going to be the first one to see that. But this could be a little bit of a better option for these real institutional investors to actually unload into a market. I think that this one's going to perform very well, and that's why I've been buying my bags. Bought my first bags here at $1.11. Honestly, was pissed off that I bought so high, because I felt like I could have bought some cheaper. It's fine. You live and learn and make mistakes. But now I'm in profit. Now I'm not worrying about it. Now, before I wrap up this video, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. I am expecting a little bit of downside coming inside of Tezos, maybe taking us back down to my initial entry of about $1.11, maybe $1.15, something like that. And then I think that's going to be our last sell-off, last time to accumulate before we actually start the next major impulse in that cycle. And so the amount of volume that's coming in here, the amount of adoption that I see potentially taking place in Tezos is the biggest reason why I'm such a bull. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for tuning into this video. I really appreciate the support. You guys have been killing it, smashing that subscribe button, leaving the most positive comments, because that's really what I want out of this community. In a community where there can be a lot of toxic people, I try my best to be a positive influence and really spread that positivity to my subscribers so that we're all on the same page of things. At the end of the day, everybody has the same goals. We want to make life-changing money off of this stuff, and so there's no reason to sit there and say that you're better than one another. There's no reason to nitpick and try and critique everybody unless it's in a positive way. And you guys know exactly what that is. You know what it's like to be positive, what it's like to be a friend, what it's like to really help and mentor somebody through maybe the things that you already struggled with, that you've already learned and gained from. Because at the end of the day, guys, a lot of people are going to be making mistakes. That's why I made this channel. I knew that you guys were going to get screwed over if you didn't have solid, sound advice to follow. And so that, for me, is a no-brainer why I made this channel. I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So continue doing what you're doing, guys. This is the really early stages of market cycle. I know that it seems scary right now. Everybody's wondering if Bitcoin's just going to continue to go off in this bear trend. But I can say without a doubt the bull market's already started, and that's why I've been accumulating so much. I've not attached to my emotions at all because I see where we're at right now in the cycle, and I've spent hours studying all of this. So don't get shaken out. Stick to your trading plan and continue to actively invest in these cryptocurrencies. It'll be a very sound thing to do for your portfolio moving forward. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, guys, I'm still doing a 50% off discount for my pre-sale of my course. My course is going to release January 1st, 2020, but prices are going to double after that point. Make sure that you guys get involved right now while the market's still very cheap, because what's going to happen is everything's going to get exploding. Everything's going to start exploding, and it's really the people that are getting involved with this stuff early that are going to follow my most profitable signals, because the most amount of money you're going to make is at the bottom of these trends right now when we're speaking. And if you wait around until the final impulse of these next cycles, you're going to miss out on a lot of profit potential that could have taken place. So make sure that you get a hold of me through my email, through my Discord server, or drop a comment here and I will reach back to you guys at a later date. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.